Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be showing you how I created the chevron design you're seeing in the center of the board here. What you see me cutting here is going to be the straight edge for the pieces of wood that I will be gluing together at the 45 degree. So I'm using a piece of scrap plywood that I had about 3 feet, and the piece of straight edge I cut is about 22 inches roughly. Just a quick preview of pretty much how it's going to work. The triangle piece is also cut at a 45 degree angle and will act as the bottom edge for the pieces of wood. This triangle is going to act as the top piece to the clamping system, so it will slide down and I'll clamp the pieces together to tighten the glued pieces of wood together. I have jointed, and now I am planing the pieces of wood that I would be using for the cutting board. Off camera, I cut my pieces of maple, mahogany, and walnut at a 45 degree angle, and now I'm gluing those pieces together here. And as you can see, I also laid down a piece of parchment paper, which will help prevent getting any glue on my jig that I made to create the chevron design. In the next clip, you'll see that I started gluing and clamping the pieces of wood together, but since I didn't have all my clamps and everything together, the edging of it was not perfectly lined up, as you can see here, but it still glued up pretty well. I cut these two pieces here off at 1.5 inches thick, which I will be gluing separately together to make sure that the arrows are perfectly lined together. And now I'm getting more just straight strips of edge grain cutting wood, and I am just going to put those together now and do a second glue up so I can create my final product that I am looking for. And since the initial chevron glue up was not perfect, I did take it to a jointer to make sure that was flat before cutting the strips. And now I have the wood on my crosscut sled, cutting off the ends here to make the ends perfectly straight on the cutting board. That's the first side, and here is the second side. Now I am creating the juice screw jigs with the jig I created based off of Kings Fine Woodworking design. And let me tell you guys, it really is great. It makes cutting these juice screws, about 30 seconds. So it's really fantastic, and it's even all around with just doing one take. You don't have to stop and readjust. It's just a one-time go, and you can do this with so many different size boards. It's really great. All right, and then off camera, after finishing the juice screw jig, I did start sanding the cutting board. I start with a 60 grit, 80 grit, 120 grit, 180. Then I spray down the board with water to raise the grain, and then I finish off the board with a 220 finish grit. I will also have some round over bits, so then I will just neatly round off the corners so there's no sharp corners. And I will take a sanding block and use 180 grit and 220 grit to do the corners themselves, so that way they're nicely rounded over. And now that the board is sanded, I'm going to take it over to my mineral oil tub, and I will let it soak here. I let it soak for roughly about an hour time frame, which after that it really stops absorbing, so there's no need for any more time after that. This is one of my favorite parts of the entire process, because this is when you really get to see the colors in your design pop out. I mean, as you can see here, those colors are just beautiful. Really love how that chevron design came out, and just that wood grain there on the walnut is just beautiful. And yeah, so like I said, let it soak in here for about an hour time frame, put the lid on it, and then I'll come back afterwards and just let it drain here, which you're gonna see in about a second. I just have this stand I put over the tub, and I just let it soak there, or let it drain I should say, for roughly 30 minutes or so until it really stops. And here's some final photos of the board I took for display, and just so I can post these on my Facebook, Instagram, just to really display them and show them off. I'm really happy with how this design came out, guys. Thank you so much for supporting this, and hopefully if you like and follow me, I really appreciate it.